Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Triforce podcast here in lovely Britain, swimming through the after haze of a lovely, successful football victory in the Euro 2024 semi-finals.
Well, and also, let's not forget, people who don't like football, there was a pretty big election victory recently in the UK as well.
Oh, that happened, yeah. We did politics last week. That's no more politics.
No. I mean,
and no football either.
Football. Man,
no football.
What?
We did that last week as well.
Everybody's got football fever. It might actually be coming home as well.
I've been very critical. I just want to put a couple of things on the record. I've been very critical of the England team. Last night was how we can play. That's what I want. We are capable of that. Let's do more of that. Anyone who thinks that we should just scrape our way through the tournament, clawing our eyes out and praying.
Well, by the time this podcast goes out, it will be out or we have won. So there'll be a very different sentiment in people's
True, but honestly, last night's
mind.
Performance was the best of the tournament by us. It was a genuinely good game, and we got lucky with the penalty, but it is what it is. That's revenge for Ronald Koeman cheating way back when. So there you go. I was delighted.
Ronald Kermit.
Koeman.
Oh. Wow.
He cheated.
So,
ask Graham Taylor all about it.
Ask anyone.
Yeah.
He famously. Is it like one of those Maradona moments where he handballed into the goal?
No, he hauled down. God, who was it that was clean through? Was it Lineker or Platt? Maybe. Either way,
someone was clean through.
He hauled them down.
Someone was clean through. And he hauled them down.
He hauled them down, and ever since, no red card, and everybody.
So we've been building up karma ever since, and this is it.
This is it. We haven't played the Dutch in a tournament since 1996. Isn't that crazy? That's really unusual. I really honestly thought we would have played them at some point. All those World Cups and Euros, we never bumped into them in a tournament, not in a group stage. Never faced them in a knockout match. I don't think. Crazy.
There's that Scottish guy who always has the flag of whoever England are
is
playing.
it Ravs?
No, I think it's actually most of Scotland. They're all flying like the Dutch flag yesterday.
Yeah, it's a bit of bants, bit of rivalry. England fans often can't take it. They love to dish it, can't take it. I say good bants.
Football, let's not talk about it. It's such a chalk or cheese thing. I think that just the nature of the game, though, you kind of can't brought it up. You can't risk not watching the game in case there's this it's surrounded by FOMO, right? You might just have 60 minutes or 90 minutes of really slow nothing loss.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, that was miserable. Why do I subject myself to this? But you have to do it in case there was that goal in the 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? That right at the end or something. Because it's such a all or nothing as well, isn't it? It's a very low scoring game. It kind of feels like you can have these high roll moments. I don't know. It's It's like exciting, isn't it? God, what am I saying? I'm saying football is exciting. Can we move on?
It has been really exciting though, and frustrating, but exciting. It's been. I always like the big international tournaments. I watch them. I like them a lot.
I watched them last night with my wife and my youngest.
Nice.
And she was really into it. I went mad. Mrs. F was like, please calm down. I can't calm down. I cannot, and I will not.
Please calm down. How many wives were the same way? But yeah, it was the same, I think, at the pub yesterday. Just talking to some of the guys in the office who were at the Apple, which is the local cider bar.
Got the two big screens.
And it was just apparently chaos there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Chaos. People love football. Even if you don't know you love football, maybe you do. Secretly, I think all Brits are born with the passive trait, secretly wants to get happy, excited about England winning.
Sure. Yeah.
Weird how that happens. It's the bizarre patriotism built into us. We love our country, really. No, it's positive, actually. There's a lot of good energy in the UK right now with the Tories being kicked out.
So just so that we don't... I know that people do get upset when they think the podcast is biased against the Tories or whoever. Let me just say, I didn't vote in the election because I was away. I live in Twickenham, so our MP was Munira Wilson, a very inoffensive Lib Dem MP. By the way, the Lib Dems did incredibly well, which was a big surprise, but they did. If you're a Conservative voter and you lost, or a Reform voter and you are bitter that you only got 4 MPs despite getting 4 million votes, and want to complain about the system, I'm with you. We should have proportional representation. I think first past the post is kind of silly, but it is what it is. And hey, you lost, get over it, is what you guys always love to say. So All I'm saying is, we're not biased. I don't really think anybody's going to improve the country. I've kind of dipped on politics and given up altogether. I think they're all shit.
Well, we could have a break for it from a while now.
I just don't want to really think about it.
Well, you will have a break from it for a while now.
Except for the next 3 months of American version of it.
Do you know what? So did you watch John Oliver's thing? This is current events, I'd say, rather than politics. John Oliver's thing that he did, he's only on Mondays, I think, on The Daily Show. And he was talking about the fact that they're going to keep Biden, despite the fact that he's 1 billion years old. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, we got to back Joe. They said it's only 4 months to the election. We can't take a chance. And he pointed out that in the UK, we had called an election and had it within a month. In France, they had a bunch of elections in a very short time. What is it about America where they feel that you need like 2 years to build up? You could absolutely grab someone and elect them. You just find a good person. It doesn't have to be this colossal
I need plenty of time to make me a decision. They call me slow.
Slow,
but I think
they call me slow.
They've called me slow before, but I think I'm making a wise decision by taking at least 2 years to decide which of these old fucking men I would like to be the leader of the free world.
It's just silly. You don't need 4 months is fucking forever. How do they need so long?
It is funny.
It's dark.
Yeah, I think it's because the news cycle has this kind of constant countdown to things, right? It's like, and it's kind of, sometimes the countdown is fairly ludicrous. You know, it's like countdown to Independence Day. We got just over 37 days left until Independence Day.
What are you going to do? How will you prepare? It's like we're being invaded or an asteroid is coming.
Every
like that,
single
I don't
thing
understand.
There's some sort of event. Everything's got this breaking news. Only 64 days until Halloween. It's like, well, okay, why?
Oh my God!
Everything.
I can't wait!
It gives everything this increased gravitas, right? To have a constant, frightening countdown. It's kind of it's crazy. Anyway, like the American politics. Who knows what's going to happen? It is like popcorn. There's that gif of like the guy eating popcorn or the popcorn cat. That's what I feel like right now. Just constantly being like, this is so exciting.
I'm excited.
What else have you guys done this week? Anything unrelated to those two things?
I've been playing. I played a little bit of. I started playing Cyberpunk, which I've enjoyed so far.
Good.
It's a big, overwhelming game for me, though. I find it very, very big. But
there is a lot. It's very open.
It is very cool, though. I've been playing some Sea of Thieves. I've been playing some Sea of Thieves with my son, and then playing it a little bit on stream and stuff as well, which has been really fun.
That's really wholesome.
Really, really wholesome. Really fun. And in my spare time, I've been playing Football Manager Touch 24 on my tablet, which I've enjoyed so much. I could talk about it forever, but I won't. But I have loved
Football Manager Touch 24.
Yes, it is.
It's like the mobile version of Football Manager. I'm trying to convince Sip's viewers. I'm trying to convince him to stream some Football Manager when the new one comes out and build a Sips dynasty. You can also rename the players. So you could rename them after viewers or whatever you wanted, if you want.
You can make them worth millions. You can make them worth millions. You can promise them the stars and then deliver them sewage. And, it's
you can do
great.
it all.
Yeah,
it's a really fun game. I've got, other than Dota, it's my most played game, the Football Managers.
Yes, you used to just do that. You used to just do that. Yeah. Only that.
I have not actually been able to stream much. Obviously, I was in Bristol for a week, which was really good. We recorded an episode down there. It was good to see everyone.
Yeah.
My eldest, it was her work experience at the Yogs that week. She did work experience, which was kind of a massive bit of generosity from Lewis, really. And I really appreciate it. But I thought it would be good for her to be in an environment where I can be there too and sort of, help her out and be there for her and everything. And it was great. And she was really, really slotted in very well, got on with everyone. And I want to give a shout out to Lulu and everybody for looking after her for that week. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. I don't know if we talked about this with you, Sips, but it was quite interesting because, when I did work experience at school, it was in a hotel and restaurant type situation. Right. And my parents had sort of encouraged me to do it there because they thought I could get a job there afterwards. They were like, well, if you go and show them how good you are during the work. So, I went to work experience and they really just used me as a free labor, washing up, setting tables, serving people at the bar in the evenings, well, not actually, that wasn't, during the work experience, I didn't do the evenings, but then they did hire me afterwards, unbelievably. My mum was like vindicated. It's such a parent's thing, isn't it? For let's get him a summer job, but how's the best way to do that? Well, let's not let him do work experience anywhere he'd like to do or anywhere fun. Just imagine doing work experience at McDonald's or Sainsbury's or something, like when I did that. I worked at Sainsbury's when I was 16 anyway, but could you imagine your parents pushing you to just get a real job and get you out of the house? So I was a bit, I guess I never got the opportunity to do it somewhere fun. I don't know where I would have done it, but it was actually Daff and Sarah who were very keen to have your daughter around and show her all the different aspects of Yogs. So from, answering the doorbell to editing videos and filming TikToks and, like running the streams. There's so much variety, right?
Yeah.
Actually, of what goes on in the Yogs, even though there's only a small team of us.
Did your daughter enjoy editing TikToks for the Yogs?
She did. She oddly enough, she's a non-TikTok haver. She's like, nah, I just end up doom scrolling it. I don't want it on her phone, which is very good self-control.
Very aware.
And yeah, that's quite a mature decision. But she installed it because Sarah wanted her to make a TikTok, which I was in, which I didn't understand. It's one of those Sarah memes where you just have to shake your head and get on with it. I didn't know what the fuck these memes that Sarah's into.
I don't understand. She'll show you a video on her phone with a big smile on her face, right?
Like
and
you're meant to go,
oh,
amazing. But I'm just
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. It's like some joke and you just don't understand it at all. And you're like, is this funny? And she's like, yeah, it's really funny. And you're like, okay, and what do I have to do? And she's like, well, just look stupid and say this stupid thing. It'll take 5 seconds. And
exactly.
I'm like, okay, I'll do this. It's like the hawk tur.
Yeah. Hawk tur.
Oh God. Where is this thing? Where do these things catch on?
That's the new Skibbity toilet. It's brain rot. Honestly, these things when they come along. And it all kind of feeds on itself. It's like back in the day we had YouTube poops, and I guess we still do. But it is like, how is this funny?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So much, and almost like if you ask someone, they say, well, it's not really, but that's why it's funny. And you're like, oh, okay, it's one of those. It's like I saw this cartoon yesterday. It was like these guys. I'll have to find it and share it with you. But basically, it was two characters chatting. Complaining, one of them was complaining about, how come they keep coming up with new words for everything, right? And the other one's like, well, you just have to get on with it, or else you're old. And then in the next frame, the cartoon character's like massively aged, just like a withered old man. Like instantly, man. It's like, oh no, I'm old now. And I feel like that's every time this happens when Sarah shows me something, I just feel my hair graying and my face wrinkling. I just actually feel the weight of the years.
Do you know what,
physically aging?
It kind of makes me feel like Sarah
Sarah
is my agent, and she's got me a gig, and I'm like, really? And she's like, yes, this is great for you, and it's a role in some movie where it's
You're
inappropriate.
Right.
Like it feels
this is
like
what it's like.
I'm not saying oh, I have too much gravitas. I'm just saying I am the wrong person for this role. I don't understand the bit. No, everyone's going to be like, what the fuck is Flax doing there? And he's not going to get it. And if he has to improvise around it, it's going to be dreadful. That's how it feels for me.
It's like your Nick Cage's. You're Nick Cage.
She's Nick Cage's agent.
And you've got a big tax bill to pay off, and you'll accept anything.
Anything.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And rather than what you really want to be is Bill Murray and have your answer phone or whatever.
Yes.
And in order to pique your attention, people have to give you some absolutely bonkers pitch like Steve Zissou's or whatever, nonsense comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'll do that weird fucking thing. He only picks up for Wes Anderson or quirky stuff or things that he thinks is. I kind of appreciate that. Has Bill Murray been cancelled? I can't remember.
Bill,
anyway,
I don't think he's been cancelled. I think people there. I think he has kind of a a bit of a bad reputation, for being awkward.
Didn't he do
Bit of a
something?
diva.
Is it Seth Green, that actor that was in the Austin Powers movies? He was in a movie with Bill Murray, and Bill Murray shook him over a bin, held him over a bin by one leg or something.
That's
or
right.
Something weird
when
like
he was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a weird guy.
I
Yeah.
remember this. Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast before.
I
Anyway,
do think his whole thing is if it makes him laugh, it's worth doing. Like
I
everybody
think
else
so.
is kind of
Yeah.
secondary.
for sure.
Yeah.
Which I think there's probably a point in your life when you're in your prime where people are with you on that. But I feel the older you get, the more out of touch with what you find is funny is what other people find is funny as well, and then that's when you shake somebody over a bin and everybody gets mad at you.
Yeah,
You
could
know?
be.
Well, maybe it's changed. He is in because he's doing the Ghostbusters again, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
done the latest
Yeah,
two.
he's been in the.
Are either of them any good?
I took my son
don't
to
know.
see both of them, and I mean, I think a young person, that's their. I think a lot of young people probably seen the original Ghostbusters, and for us, we watch those again, and we think, oh man, there's nothing better. There's a lot of nostalgia and everything, but for them, I think. To see a brand new movie with brand new effects and all that kind of stuff, it is it matters to them, I guess. My son likes the two more recent ones more than the originals, which is I tried to make him sleep out in the backyard and not feed him, but you can't get away with it, unfortunately. So
I've
maybe-
been seeing reviews for this new Nick Cage movie called Long Legs. Like it's a
Okay.
serial killer movie. It's meant to be very scary.
Right.
It does look scary. The trailer looks fucking scary. So maybe Nick Cage is kind of back. Do you know what I mean? Maybe.
He can be as back as he wants to be, but I mean, I've played enough Gary's Mod over the years, and now every time I see him, I just see Nicholas Pickles. I just see the stupid pickle with Nick Cage's face on it. So I don't think he's capable of scaring me. Doesn't
Why
matter
didn't
what
they just
role
call
he's
him
in.
Pickles Cage? Why'd they call him Nicholas Pickles? Just call him
I think
Pickles
they called
Cage.
it. I think it is Pickles Cage, but
Okay.
I just think Nicholas Pickles sounds
Sillier.
a lot more silly. Yeah.
Sounds like a German folk tale.
Yeah.
It's a story of Nicholas
Nicholas
Pickles.
Pickles.
He will put a pickle up your bottom if you are naughty.
oh, now you're talking.
Do you want to? Here's a change of pace, because we've been talking about our jobs, and obviously our jobs are kind of the most cushy jobs, really. So how about the 10 most dangerous jobs in the UK?
Ooh,
Okay.
Hang on, let me
It's
guess.
got to be
Okay.
working on an oil rig,
Oil rig is not on there.
right?
Okay. Well, is mining still a job?
Mining is not on the list. It's just
Okay.
not done very much. These are
What
government
about-
figures on injuries and fatalities in the workplace.
Okay, let me guess. It's gonna be It's gonna be something. It's gonna be manual labor. Like it's gonna be something building related, like roofing, roofer.
Roofer is
Roofer.
not on the list.
Oh fuck!
We do have decent safety in the UK, I think, when it comes to things like that.
Really, this is
yeah,
impressive.
health and
Okay,
safety is quite
well,
good.
I guess it always used to be army, right? That used to be the most dangerous
Right,
job.
they're not on there.
Not on there either.
No.
And then I guess the other two are emergency services, police, and fire.
So
What
fire
about-
and police are the top two.
Okay. Is
Wow, really?
is anything
Yeah.
to do with fracking in there?
Fracking is not in there.
What the hell?
So police and fire.
Yeah.
Obviously,
So
it's
it's
really
fire is the most dangerous by far.
by far.
Yeah. It's like
Oh.
they've given them this danger score out of 100. Firefighter is 66. Here's the thing. There's only been one fatality in the firefighters in the last 5 years. This is a Forbes article that they looked at the study. But there's 47,530 injuries in that time frame. So dangerous in
what
that
are we
regard.
calling an injury though? Because a little burn in your fingy. Oh, you passed it. Or is it like proper smoke
Why don't you be a
inhalation?
firefighter then?
Why
Well,
don't
no,
you
I
be
mean,
a burns victim as
I am
well
the
and see how it
opposite
feels just to
of
have
a
a small
fire.
burn on your finger
Yeah, go burn yourself right now. Get something really hot and
before
burn
you
yourself.
judge people.
One side of your body, just burn like your
the
whole
whole
arm.
side, yeah.
Let's see
How
how that
serious
goes.
are these injuries?
I don't
is what I'm
know,
asking.
but it's injuries, isn't it?
It's probably
I mean,
bad.
For
I think-
police
I think
officers, they've been-
firefighters are almost comically reckless with their, and encouraged to be, right? You know, it feels like if you're going to be a firefighter, you almost have to be so macho and manly and like run into the fire to save people's cats, you know, and put yourself at risk. It's
yeah, it's
it is.
dangerous.
Do you not think like it's kind of through media and movies, it almost like deterministically makes people behave more recklessly.
Well, you think because they're like, I am a firefighter, I must be reckless. Is that what
well,
you're
I think
thinking?
in the same way that like Baywatch made lifeguards into this kind of pinnacle of manliness or sexiness, firefighters are always seen as like heroes. Right?
I think the fact that what they do is dangerous.
But name a more heroic thing you can do than go into someone's house and save someone, right? So when it's on fire, like that feels like how TV shows would show that a hero is a hero, right?
Yeah.
And they show that the bad guy is a bad guy by having him kick a dog or something,
right?
It's this is how it is, or I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
What do you think number 3 is on the list?
No, what do I think number 3 is?
Repo Man.
No. Not really a big job over here.
A sewage person.
Nope.
Sewage inspector.
Nope. It's unusual that this is there. I didn't think it would be there, but imagine that you are surrounded by heavy things all day.
A construction worker.
They are not on the list.
Heavy
things up on shelves. You have to move them around.
Oh, like a warehouse
worker
person.
Is number 3.
Yeah, those forklifts and stuff.
Yeah. And
very
stuff
dangerous.
Just tips over. You got a lot of shit moving around. All right, number 4. Imagine I think it's either the most dangerous or the second most dangerous room in your house. Imagine working in that environment all the time. And it's not your
second most dangerous room in your house. What's the most dangerous room in your house?
It's kitchen.
So it's either the bathroom or the kitchen. I think kitchen is most dangerous, but
you can cut yourself.
It's very close.
God,
it's
sorry,
one or the other.
Right, so in the bathroom you slip over and you bang your head. Right, I remember. And then in the kitchen there's got
knives.
There's knives and stuff. So
heat,
like cook,
fire,
chef?
Yeah, it's chef. Chef is there. Now number 5, you'll never get care worker.
Oh.
Because I guess you're working with people.
Well, yeah.
Wow, I would have said maybe like what about vet?
Vet is not on there.
Oh wow, okay.
Believe it or not, the 6th most dangerous is working in retail.
Probably because people get annoyed and they try to thump you.
Yeah, I'll give you the other ones.
Slippages.
Truck driver. Kitchen assistant.
Oh, driver. Should have said
nursing
driver.
Assistant. And then the last one, prison officer. Obviously,
wow.
very
prison
dangerous.
officer less dangerous than chef.
Apparently so.
Is this...
I mean, you lock them up, right? Like, that's the whole thing. There's going to be dangerous elements, but a lot of the time, you've got all kinds of systems. You don't just let the crazy people out. They're pretty... It's got all kinds of protections and stuff like that. But, I mean, I know that at the moment, the prisons are, like, super underfunded and overloaded. Very dangerous. So maybe it's getting worse. But the median salary for all of these jobs is really bad. Like, firefighter is only $28K, and that's for a very dangerous job. A lot of these jobs very dangerous, but the pay is not great.
No.
Most of these jobs are around the 20 to 25K mark, and that's not good if you're a truck driver.
Is that entry level though, or is that?
It just says median salary. So,
right.
Yeah. I know in New York City, the coppers earn a bloody fortune. I couldn't believe how much they get. I was astonished.
Yeah, well, it's a big place.
Different in America. It's different in America. Here's the fatal injury rate on the job in America is very different. Number 1 on the list by far. What do you think it is?
In America?
Yeah.
Coal mine.
No, mining is bottom of the list.
Oh.
Have we said it already?
Logging.
Oh, logging.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 132 deaths per 100,000 workers.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's pretty fucking bad. I mean, I guess, trees are going to fall where they fall and chainsaw accidents and God knows what. But yeah, the logs are dangerous, man. And then, believe it or not, second is aircraft pilots and flight engineers.
Whoa.
I was kind of surprised by that. That's not good news. But I wonder if that's little planes, because it tends not to be big, but it tends to be little planes. And also flight engineers, I guess, getting run over or sucked into engines or God knows what. Roofers in the States is 47 fatalities per 100,000. So roofing, much more dangerous in America, apparently.
Oh, they have bigger houses?
I don't know.
Maybe like the houses in the UK. Got a lot of bungalows, There's a lot less less distance to fall.
I think here's a question for you guys. Whenever I'm in the States, I feel like there's a lot more repair work to be done on your house than there is in the UK. Whenever I go to visit my dad, for example, he keeps his house good order, but there's always something that they need someone in for. Like the roof or the AC is broken or this is broken or that is broken. It's a lot of, I think it's because it's a harsher environment in a lot of places. I mean, Florida is very hot, but then also very wet. And there's, the roofs must go through, you get tornadoes and shit like that. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know if there's any statistics on this. Right into the mailbag. It feels to me like shit in America is broken when it comes to your house a lot more than it is in the UK. That was just my feeling whenever I went to the States. I was like, damn, something else needs to be fixed. It's always something.
Yeah.
I think they got like the termites, they got the weather and everything. It must all just add up. Quite a harsh climate in some ways.
Yeah, that's interesting. Right in.
Yeah, right in. If you're a roofer, let us know why it's so dangerous.
Let us know. Yeah. Why is it so dangerous?
Yeah. Why is it so dangerous?
Well, what are you doing up there?
What are you doing up there?
Are you just accidentally hitting your little fingy wingy and hurting it so it's not worth reporting, or are you actually falling off and impaling yourself on a stake that's sticking out from the lawn or something like that? Write in, let us know. Let's see what's going on.
Do you love dogs?
Yes.
Do you love coffee?
Yes.
Of course.
What about coffee with a K?
Yes.
Well then, I've got a brand for you. Cato's Coffee, that's Cato with a K, and also coffee with a K.
Wow.
They love coffee, and they love dogs.
So do I.
Well, you can get premium coffee roasted to order, just delivered to your house.
Jeez.
It's pet and planet friendly. Support animal welfare and eco-friendly practices with every purchase. Delicious flavor profiles, expertly roasted for a smooth, flavorful experience every time. That's the coffee, not the dogs. Make a difference. Your morning cup contributes to positive change for pets and the environment. And if coffee isn't your thing, try their delicious range of teas.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can also get their merchandise. You got a line of merchandise for you and for your furry friend.
No way.
They cover all the bases, yes.
That sounds amazing. Do you have some sort of promo code?
I do. Do you know what? You can go to www.catoscoffee.com. Remember, that's Cato's and coffee with a K, and use code Triforce for 5% off your entire order. Find something to suit your taste today.
I love using the net.
Well, then go to catoscoffee.com.
I will.
And use code Triforce.
I will.
Good. On with the show.
So, got some news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
News
man
is
man has been arrested in the UK, jailed for 4 months.
Right.
The offence that got him in trouble, that sent him to jail, was carrying a 6-inch long Zelda sword made of
what?
Actual metal, but it's like a replica.
Right.
He was holding a 6-inch long Zelda sword in public, and
they thought it was a dagger.
That's not allowed.
Right. And I mean, it's not really, though, is it?
No.
He's getting 4 months and a £154 fine. What a specific amount.
Yeah.
Very
it was not a prop. The blade was sharp.
It was a sharp blade.
Is that really an imprisonable offense?
Apparently, he had a string of past offences.
He was brandishing it, brandishing a replica.
So this wasn't his first rodeo, and maybe it's time to give him a little slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
In prison.
I don't know if
he said he used it as a fidget toy to keep his hands busy.
4 months seems excessive, but
4 months. It is possible to find fidget toys that aren't 6-inch blades. It is possible not to walk down the street holding them out in front of you. With a bit more self-awareness, Bray could have avoided contact with us completely. That's the police's statement. Okay. And that's true. Saying it's my fidget toy and then it's a small knife. It's tiny, though. It's so small. It's crazy that he was nicked for this.
Yeah, but what if he stabbed somebody that though, with it?
I mean, I guess if he was walking down the street carrying a kitchen knife, he'd also be nicked for that. But...
Which you don't see every day either, to be fair.
No, that's true. I think walking around with it in public is the issue.
I think anybody walking around with a knife, you have to just wonder, hey, I'm looking around. I don't see anyone else walking around with a knife except for this one guy.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes. Well, don't walk around with a knife, I guess. It's not that hard. Most people don't do it.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Top Gear looked like they accidentally leaked an Xbox could be installed in driverless taxis and cars. There's a robo-taxi being built, right?
Right.
By like a Bugatti-led consortium. And the idea is that, it'll be...
Like Johnny cars from
driverless taxis. They're the future, right? It's getting there. Who knows how long it'll take till it's actually a thing. But the idea is that you'll be able to get into a taxi and there'll be just... you won't even be able to see out the windscreen. It'll just be a 43-inch screen there with an Xbox.
What, and do you
and
drive
other
the
stuff.
car with the Xbox?
No, you don't drive the car. It's driverless. It's all automated. You just put in where you want to go, and it
I want
takes you
Windows.
there. You want Windows?
I do not want to be in a vehicle with no Windows. Thank you.
Oh, I think I think Xbox Windows. Yeah, it's all Microsoft, so it should.
Very good. I want Windows. I will not get in a car with no Windows.
Cross-platform, yeah.
Yeah.
You could.
Very good.
Fucking hell. Next,
You love that
a
one.
game that was delayed for 22 years is finally out.
What is it?
Well, in 2002, a group of friends in Italy started developing an action platformer for Nintendo's Game Boy Advance. They got distracted or something,
Right?
and finally, 22
The First
years
World
later,
War broke out.
it's
That's what
launching. So yeah, lots of guys worked on this, and it was almost ready to go. But once the game was finished, the high costs of shipping the game on Game Boy carts and the risk that it might not be successful led to no publisher wanting to release the game. So the eventually only one member of the team remained. Despite believing in the unpublished game, he moved on with his life and started creating educational games for kids and teens. But he never gave up hope. So he's he's finally found a publisher, and they're launching it on classic consoles. And it was, there you go, it's called Keen, Kien.
Interesting.
Check it out. You can buy a physical copy for the Game Boy Advance, or there's a digital version that you can play on an emulator. There you go. So finally, it's available on cartridge.
I've got
Amazing.
I've got something to talk to you guys about. That brings something to my mind that I was thinking about during the week, and I really want to see what your take is and see if anyone can explain this to me. There must be a way that these companies come up with the price for the consoles. It must be based around some consumer price index thing, or there must just be an amount, because adjusted for inflation, how much do you think the NES cost when it came out in 1985?
Well, I mean,
adjusted for inflation.
They also figure out how much it costs to create one as well. So there's that factor.
Right,
in
but that
too.
would have you'll understand why I get that question, but I think it's totally irrelevant. I'll explain why in a moment.
So
how
the
much
NES,
adjusted for inflation in 1985, the Nintendo Entertainment System came out, the NES, the classic. Adjusted for inflation, how much would it cost now?
I think I don't know in the UK. Or,
This
sorry,
is
I don't know in
America.
the
This
US.
is America.
Well, yeah, I think in the UK, I think it costs about, I want to say £250 or £300 probably.
Okay, so its
So-
original price was $200. Adjusted for inflation, that's £562. Okay, how much does $562
bucks or pounds? Right, so-
PlayStation 5 came out in 2020, $589 adjusted for inflation. So what I'm
Okay.
saying is the PS5 and the NES have 40 years separating them, more or less, and they still basically cost $500 or whatever the equivalent would have been back then. And if you look at these prices, I've gone and I've looked at the prices, the launch prices of consoles over the years, and they all seem to be around that $500 mark. Certainly the successful ones,
Yeah.
$400 to $500. The Game Boy and stuff like that is cheaper. The Switch is cheaper because it's smaller. It's not as big. Xbox Series X around about $500, $550. What is it about that amount that means it hasn't changed? And you're saying, oh, they're cheaper to make or they're more expensive to make. Apparently not, because although they're working out how much it costs them to make, it's apparently costing them the same amount as it was back then relative to the cost of the console. What is happening that $500 is seen as like the amount, either way, that people will pay, even if that's the equivalent to $500 back in 1985 was $200.
Okay, there's a lot of factors here. Obviously, first of all, political factors in that, the cost of living and the amount of disposable income people have. What can they afford? I'm sure they focus grouped people and said, how much would you pay for this? And then they work backwards. They're like, okay, we need this thing to cost this much. That means we need to have this many. That means we need to have them made for this much. And so then they go to the chip makers and the other people and they power it at the level that they can afford. It's like, well, we can afford to have this, therefore we'll have this much RAM in there, this much processing power in there, which is why they're all slightly different, because they each source their own things. And they also look at their competitors and they're like, well, looks like these guys have announced that it's going to have this level of power. We can just do the same, or we should do the same because we want to launch the same games on our platform, and they want to be similar. You don't want to be making games for one platform that can't run on the other one, right? So there's a huge amount of thought that goes into this, but I assume that the grounding one is that it is what people are used to paying. They paid that, they are happy to pay it before, and it's familiar, right? I think sometimes we've complained about games recently being $70 or £70.
Most of them are still 30 quid
for games, but yeah, 30
no, they're
quid
like
feels
70 now. They're expensive.
No, not all. Look, so we've invented this triple A and quadruple A and all this shit. I get it. That's a relatively recent thing. For the longest time, going back to when I was a kid, games cost 30 quid.
Well, I will say that when I bought Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time back in the 90s, I think I paid 50 quid for it. When it came
were ripped
out.
off. I mean, but I guess Nintendo and these big AAA titles,
Nintendo stuff's always been pretty expensive to be fair.
And it retains its value really well. If you ever have a Nintendo game and you want to ship it to CEX or whoever, they'll give you decent money for it compared to fucking PS3 games. I mean, Nintendo just has that cachet, I'd say. Yeah. Also, it never feels like their consoles are just a better version of the one that came before. It does feel different. Like the GameCube, the Wii U, the Switch all feel different enough that you don't feel like, oh, it's just the same thing. Whereas Xbox is just the better version of the previous Xbox. I always felt like Nintendo were pretty good at that, and making it feel like a unique thing you were getting. Yeah. Like you compare the GameCube, the Game Boy, and the Wii, they're all very different experiences, I'd say. Here's another interesting thing looking at this list is the ones that didn't fucking make it were the ones that charged way over the odds. For example, the Intellivision came out in 1980. The Mattel Intellivision, adjusted for inflation, $1,164. That didn't last.
Wow.
The Atari Lynx, which was a handheld, it had a color screen. That was $440.
I have one of those in my house right now. My wife had one when she was a kid.
So that was twice the price of the Game Boy, which was the most successful console.
I think that sometimes, though, with these guys, these things were marketed to different groups of people, right? Like sometimes they were marketed as you could do your accounts on them, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they were marketed in different ways at different groups. And also, if you put the price to a certain level, when you're working with economics, like the idea is that you're going to have to make a lot less, right? If you think you're going to sell 1,000, there's no point in putting the price low because suddenly there's 10,000 orders or whatever. You want to, sometimes people start with a high price, right? And then if it doesn't sell out, they reduce the price, right? So that way you make as much money as you can without having to overproduce, or if you accidentally make twice as many as you need, you're fucked. It doesn't matter how well you sold, right? Because you're never going to turn a profit on all. You have to get a landfill and dump all the ET cartridges in it or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of the Turbo Express?
Yes.
No.
Turbo.
That is a PC Engine.
Turbo Express. Is that anything to do with the TurboGrafx 16?
I think it's by NEC Home Electronics.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're maybe the same thing, or maybe just different versions of each other. But
so it's like a Game Boy.
16 when they were.
So the TurboGrafx 16 was a bigger console.
Yeah.
The Turbo Express was like the Game Boy.
Right.
But it cost $571 in 1990.
God. Okay.
I mean, they're all trying to get on the Game Boy action, and none of them could do it for the price that Nintendo did.
Well, this is the case today. Xbox have been saying, there's been a lot of rumblings that Xbox will have a Switch version, because the Steam Deck's done really well.
Yeah.
Switch, and it's basically, Switch is kind of uncontested, and it's almost like, well, why don't we have a handheld Xbox? It's mad, and so there will be almost.
Will it be shaped like a big X?
Yeah.
A huge X you've got to lug around.
Well, that's what the original Xbox looked like, didn't it? It was terrible looking.
I remember when
the
original TurboGrafx 16 came out. The big selling point of it was this game called, I think it was Bonk's Adventure or something, and it was this small bald caveman that headbutted stuff with his bald head. I'm pretty sure it was Bonk's Adventure. Let me see. Bonk's
Adventure. This looks terrible.
Yeah,
it looks like Dizzy's Quest or something.
Yeah, it's Bonk's Adventure. There he is. There's a little bald caveman. Bonk's Adventure, known as PC Genjin in Japan, PC Kid and BC Kid in Europe, a scrolling platform game developed by Red Company and Atlas and released in 1989 in Japan, 1990 in North America for the PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16. There you go. I remember the ads for it and everything. And at the time when the ads were coming out, I mean, you got to remember this is around the time that the Super Nintendo was coming out, and it was like, oh my
Super
god,
Nintendo was 1991.
I don't think I knew. I don't think I knew a single person who owned a TurboGrafx 16 or Bonk's Adventure, but everybody wanted to get it. But most people just got a Super Nintendo instead. So.
I think it's hard to overstate just how huge the NES and the Super NES were.
Oh, in North America, they were
massive
sensational.
In America.
Yeah,
I think
so
over
big.
Here it was more Sega.
Yeah,
like I remember a lot of my mates had Segas. I had the SNES. Like I fucking loved my Super Nintendo. I absolutely loved it. But everybody seemed to have Segas. I was never a big. I hated Sonic. I thought it was shit. I loved Mario. They all wanted the Game Gear and I wanted the Game Boy. They all had the Sega Mega System and everything. But here's where it gets interesting. The 3DO Interactive. This was a
3DO.
CD thing.
I remember 3DO. That. Yeah,
that cost, adjusted for inflation, nearly 1,500 quid.
Jesus Christ!
What were they thinking? It's like the most expensive console on the list by far.
Yeah.
So okay, I remember playing this game called Fantastic Dizzy on the NES, right? It was an egg.
Yeah.
So the game was planned for Christmas 1990, but because of legal actions, it was delayed, so it missed the Christmas rush anyway. It ended up selling only 125,000 units, which is quite a lot, instead of the expected 500,000. So yeah, I mean, I imagine like that was like absolutely punishing for them. I guess what happened to all of those unsold ones? It's I guess maybe they were making them as they went, but like God, like such a risk, isn't it? With it's always been the same, right? Like the console battles and it's not changed really in 40 years. These battles of consoles, battles of handhelds.
No,
you know, Christmas saving your game for Christmas launch.
Oh,
you know, getting it done in time, missing targets, having a flop when everyone thinks it's going to be good.
Yeah,
I feel like Sony have kind of dominated the console thing for a while. I don't know if I'm wrong. It always feels like PlayStation is like the one.
I think Xbox does really, really, really well too.
I mean, I know that.
I don't know if there's
if we look at most successful
one or the other
consoles,
dominates. I think they're both pretty.
We did this before, right?
Pretty good.
I don't remember, but I think it actually, you'll be surprised how even it is between the three of them.
So what do you think? So I think it's between two companies. I think it's between Sony and Nintendo. And just looking at the number here, the best that Microsoft had done was the Xbox 360 in 2005. That was very successful.
Right.
But that is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is number 9 on the list. Yeah. And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think number 1 is the one which was also a DVD player, because a lot of people bought PlayStation 2 to be a DVD player.
155 million units.
I think it's because they decided to go into the create your own console tech path rather than doing like the service MMO tech path. You know, when Vonnie released their big sorry, little Easter egg reference there for anyone. Little game, dev tycoon joke for you there.
The moment you said Vonnie, I was like, hell yeah.
Ninvento and Vonnie. Yeah.
So the Nintendo DS is the second most popular.
Yeah. I feel like the Switch is in such a unique spot because its demographic, I feel, is a lot different to the PlayStation. The price point is lower, and the target demographic is different as well.
Yeah, it's third. The Switch is third. Then the Game Boy.
Yes.
Then the PS4. So this is all like Sony at top, PS2 legendary console. Then the next three are Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that's from 1989, 1998, 2004, 2017.
When did the PlayStation come out? The PlayStation
1994.
Yeah. So, I mean...
That's the PlayStation. 102 million
So before the
sold.
PlayStation even came out, you had the NES, the Super NES, and the Game Boy, which were three... mega releases.
Huge.
That's before Sony released one console, so they would have been behind already, right?
So the thing is, the Wii is the most successful Nintendo console.
Yeah.
Because the DS, the Switch, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Color are their 4 most successful, but they're all handheld.
The Wii was
2006,
mad,
that
though.
is their most successful.
It was
Everybody bought that.
so innovative. Like there was nothing like it at the time.
Do you remember all the pictures of people that had broken their TVs?
Yeah. Doing bowling and just launching your controller through your TV and stuff.
Because it always had, when you loaded the game up, it had the thing saying, make sure the strap is tightly on your wrist. And people were like, fuck off, Nintendo, I know what I'm doing. Bam! Destroy their television.
Yeah.
But then it's the PS3, then the 360, the Xbox 360, then the Game Boy Advance, the PSP, the PlayStation Portable, which I had one, that was decent. The Nintendo, the NES isn't on the list. It's not in the top 10. Sold 61 million units in 1983.
Yeah, but it's because of the time, the day and age.
People didn't buy consoles as much. This
was the start of. I mean, before that, the most successful console was the Atari, right?
Let me check. The Atari 2600 sold 30 million in 1977. We had one back in the day. So after that. There's nothing from that era. It would have been
the NES, yeah.
Yeah. Although you can
NES would have been the big one. But then, so the Atari set some foundation for home consoles. NES just opened up the market for home consoles.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's one of those things. It was new at the time. It's kind of like when it'd be similar to like when TVs first came out. Not everybody had a TV straight away. You know what I mean? It was like, it took a while for society to convince itself that this was a required item in every single household and that you were an idiot if you didn't have one, sort of thing.
So I think that all that is, if you think about consoles, if they came out in the 70s, which is when I was a child, I wanted one. Mm-hmm. But my parents and other older people might have got one for a gimmick.
Yeah.
But they didn't really play it.
No.
You know, if you brought out a console for grown-ups, it wouldn't work because the games were too simple. As we've gotten older and had kids, and then our kids have had kids, you've got this whole triple threat generation of video game consumers that will buy games.
Yeah.
I will buy games until the day I die, and my kids will, and their kids will. And so you've almost got this swell of people who grew up with gaming and love it, continuing as a cohort and having kids who also then grew up with games. I think any new technology is going to have that same thing, where older people are going to be like, I don't need no newfangled games.
When I was a kid, we had a ColecoVision, but it wasn't something that, like a console.
You had a ColecoVision?
Yeah, my dad had one. Yeah.
Oh my god!
But it wasn't like it is now for a console. Console now, you'll have it plugged in all the time, and you'll use it for all sorts of things, right? People will stream music, movies, everything through their console.
It's the only way I can play a Blu-ray.
It is, yeah. It is a must-have thing in your living room or whatever TV it's hooked up to. It's used all the time. But like the Coleco was not hooked up all the time. It was something. It was brought out like like Grandpa brings a slideshow thing.
It's like a board game.
It was packed away, and then it was brought out because it was like, oh, it's raining. What are we gonna do? Let's get the ColecoVision out or whatever. And we had Donkey Kong Jr. and a couple of other games on it.
So I read that recently, like Japan declared war on floppy disks, right? And they've just recently declared victory 2 decades after floppy disks
what do you mean?
mainly stopped. Well, they've taken Digital Minister Taro Kono says, we have won the war on floppy disks.
Great, finally!
Do they even still exist? Oh, well, isn't it true that Japan is like they still cling to quite old technology?
When is the official VFD day then? So that we can remember it as we would D-Day and victory over in Europe.
I want a photo of 2 Japanese people kissing in the street as people tear up floppy disks.
Confetti everywhere and just floppy disks burning, melting in a pile behind them.
So yeah, like they were really intense. Japan is a gerontocracy, and it likes to hang on to fax machines and all these old things. But it's kind of started to get a bit of a bad reputation on it, partly because there was so much paper filing and stuff going on that during COVID that it was like really annoying and to have people not being in the office with all the paper.
Right.
So they started this big digital push, and they've been changing stuff over. I mean, still though, like, I mean, when you worked at the bank, we talked about this a lot, Sips. They used some old computers, didn't they? And some old code.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot of the world still runs on old code, especially stuff that needs to be robust for even like, especially like nuclear armaments and stuff.
Yeah,
right? A lot of that,
like all the core banking stuff was run on like IBM iSeries like mainframes, which they came out in like the 60s, I think.
So like COBOL or Fortran or something they're running on?
Even
COBOL,
older
yeah.
than that, RPG. It's like,
oh wow,
yeah, it's basically one up from punch cards. So
I mean,
It's
the problem is,
nuts.
how are you going to find, if it works, why are you going to spend the money
well, I mean,
to fix it?
and it does.
Well, I think
it does work.
there's a good argument of that. The issue is that there's a lack of replacement parts. There's
For
an issue-
COBOL?
Well,
No,
for
this
like
is
old
these mainframes.
actual-
It's all
Oh.
specialists. It's like it's almost like the equivalent of like vintage cars now. You know, like it's an IBM thing, so you can't even get a technician. It's still all in-house IBM. So like if something goes wrong, or you need a component, or you need to do
You gotta go to
maintenance, you
IBM.
have to go to IBM for it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, you know, it's like we have a really fancy coffee machine in the office, right?
Oh,
and it
fuck
went,
that
and
thing.
and it went wrong.
It's
Yeah.
shit.
And actually, it didn't go wrong. The old coffee machine was working absolutely fine, but they charged. They said that
Was it a
in
Tassimo?
order to keep the coffee machine. I think
No,
it was.
it's
I think
big.
it
Lily
was.
This thing is
Tassimo?
big.
Oh.
It's big. It's like
Anyway.
it's like two printers strapped together. That's how
Nice.
big
we
it is.
we used to. Well, this is the new one, Flex, but the old one, we had for a couple of years. It was great. It was really nice. Worked fine. But we had to pay this subscription to get it from the people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they came round to fix it or service it periodically.
Yeah.
Anyway, a man came to service it, broke it, and it didn't work after he serviced it. So we went back to them and were like, your service has broken it. And they were like, oh, it's going to cost you £1,000
What?
to
Yeah.
get it fixed.
Yeah, I do not understand
Yeah.
that. Like,
and
absolutely.
I was like, but you broke it. And they were like, yeah, but it's going to cost you £1,000 to get it fixed. And I was like, but you broke it.
Yeah,
And they
I
were
would
like,
pick it
yes.
up and I would take it to the lobby of their headquarters and I would smash it to pieces all over the place. And I'd say, there you go, you have it back.
So we literally did that. We literally said, right, well, we're throwing it away. So we threw it away and we got a new one from a different company. It was honestly blew my mind. But this is coffee people. We've got enough coffee people in the office that we have to have this incredibly fancy coffee machine that you pay thousands for.
Yeah, you just
doing
like
it.
get
It's
like
mad.
make an
It's
agreement
mad.
with the local coffee shop and just say, you know, we'll give you this much per month and just
Probably would have been cheaper.
it probably
honestly.
would work out cheaper and then
Then-
people could actually go outside.
Because
and
this
stuff
thing
too.
costs thousands.
Yeah, that's
Not-
crazy.
I mean, that 5,000, more than 5,000, we probably spent.
But
on
you know
this
what?
coffee
I
machine.
reckon. I'm going to be honest with you. I reckon the amount of racket these coffee machines make is all performative. Got a
You
coffee.
reckon?
Yeah, I've got a coffee yesterday. It's ridiculous. It goes like.
That's crazy.
You like, and then out comes a tiny bit of espresso. I was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
What is all that?
I'm thinking of games like what was that, Death Stranding, and I'm also thinking of Cyberpunk. You know, let's get some quiet, really satisfying coffee machines. You know, you just put the cup and it just goes like, shh,
Yep, and there's your coffee.
bing bong, it's done.
Have you guys got any tips for a game to play or to show to someone who has never ever played any video games?
Never played
How
any
old is
video
this
games
person?
ever.
35.
Oh, I know who this is.
Never ever played video games.
No.
Do you know
And-
what I would? Do you know what my honest advice is for this? Do not show them a video game. Let them enjoy a video
you
game
might
free
be- I think
life.
you
They've
might
done
be
it for
right.
35 years. Why not go the full hog now? There's no point in getting into video games, I don't think, at the age of 35, unless maybe you've had like some sort of recovery from an accident or like an addiction or something like that. Maybe like you need to find a new hobby, to fill a void in your life somehow or whatever. But I think if you've gone that long without that as a hobby or whatever, you're not missing out on anything.
How about Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
Oh my god.
No,
Well, okay.
honest, genuine answer.
Star
Minecraft.
Citizen. Get them into
Well,
Star Citizen.
I think the biggest issue I
Explain
actually have,
the buy-in and everything,
They-
and just get them to live
they
the life.
don't
You
even
know.
understand like the WASD.
Well,
Right, but I think Minecraft,
I would not
very
bother,
peaceful,
man. I would not bother. I would
sweet
just say, you know
music.
what? It's really cool that I've met somebody who doesn't have the same hobby as me, and let's just do that. Let's.
I think genuinely, not as a Minecraft player, but I think I can see the appeal.
Do you think Minecraft?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is for 4-year-olds. I guess. They
Man,
can pick it up, can't
do you
they?
know my wife has never been into video games ever, and really doesn't feel like she's missing out on anything, and she gets her full fill of video games from hearing me and my son talking about them.
Yeah.
And she honestly says that's enough, and then she just goes back to doing the things that she actually likes to do.
All right, Animal Crossing, the new Animal Crossing. That is one of the only games that Mrs. F will play. She's not a gamer.
Yeah.
She used to play Civ 2 back
Right.
at university. She was playing Civ, but she liked that one.
A keeper.
My
But
wife.
as soon as she was playing Civ 2, I was like, I'm marrying this
Civ
woman.
2 was the first time my wife had ever experienced anyone play a video game for longer than an hour at a time
This
when
is
we
fu-
first
this
met.
is a
And she
weird
was
coincidence.
so mad.
Such a weird
She
coincidence. 'cause
came
I was
upstairs
playing-
and I was playing Civ 2, and she's like, "Do you know how long you've been
Civ
playing this
2?
for?" And I was like, "No." And she's like,
9 hours?
"It's been 3 hours." I was like,
yeah, you're like, yeah.
"That's nothing."
That is nothing.
I'm only getting started. And she's like,
Like,
"What
fucking
the
give me a call when
fuck?"
I've been
Like,
here
she
for
could
9.
not believe it.
Yeah, like I was playing Civ 2 yesterday.
Civ 2?
Isn't that weird? Because me and Doug are doing a little playthrough for the Civ channel. We're playing all the Civ games.
Oh, wow.
We did Civ 1. We just started
What
doing
did
Civ
you
2.
think of Civ 1?
Did you play it for longer than 3 hours?
Well, do you know what though? Because I've got Sid Meier's autobiography that he wrote, which is not worth reading. It's
No.
the most
Okay,
boring
is
guff
it
ever.
true
Really
that
not.
Robin Williams told him that he should put his name on all the games?
No,
Right.
but it was the marketing company that recommended it.
Oh.
But he didn't even. I think he barely had anything to do with Civ 2, and it's basically the same as Civ 1. It's kind of unplayable. Civ 1 is totally unplayable because you need.
I don't know about
I
unplayable.
loved Sid Meier's Colonization, the first one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love
it was
that
so
game.
good.
Okay, well,
Man, the music is. I gotta look it up right now.
colonization. Honestly, great. Me and Ben did a playthrough of that a few years ago, and I remember playing that. Loved that. But Civ 1 is actually quite hard to play now because it's got copy protection. You have to have a manual, and so every now
yeah.
and then a little screen pops up and says, "Oh, what's the picture on page 94?" And you have to like scroll through. And if you don't get it right, it deletes all of your units. Every unit you've got, which is pretty bad.
So
And I think-
when we used to pirate games back in the day, my dad would post me like cards or just letters, and in the card would be a stack of floppy disks,
Right.
like the big ones. And there would be like 10 games on there that he'd got. Because I didn't have any money, and the games were, like I said, fucking
you
expensive.
just ran an EXE off of the disc, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
so
easy peasy.
I don't think it was even an EXE. It was just, you just copied it. Like, you just literally copied disc to disc. But like Leisure Suit Larry, which everybody had a copy of Leisure Suit Larry when on the PC.
Is that
the
Leisure
original
Suit
porn
Larry in the
game.
Pursuit of Passionate Patty?
No, that's unless that's the very first one.
Leisure Suit
Maybe it
Larry
is.
in the Land of Lounge Lizards is the first one.
So that was the one, and it had the copy protection. Was it asked you trivia that only old people?
They
would
all
know.
did. All of the Leisure
Yeah.
Suit Larrys did. Yeah.
Which I thought
and
was
it was
hilarious.
all like references to like dead presidents and
Yeah.
and old talk show hosts and shit like that. No,
So
no
you
knew
kid
you
could
were
ever
18.
guess them.
No,
Yeah.
and if you got it wrong, it just booted you back out. But you could just brute
Retry it.
force it,
Yeah, you could
by
brute force
noting
it.
down what the right answers were.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes your pirated copy would come with a photocopy of the manual, so you could get one person would buy it, and then you'd get photocopy of that manual, and then when you give someone a copy of your copy, you photograph the manual again, so it's just getting fainter and fainter and
Yeah,
fainter.
all the LucasArts point-and-click adventure games, the early ones, had those code wheels. You remember them?
Yes, the code
and
wheels.
you couldn't photocopy them. That was
No,
what was
it was rough.
crazy about them. Yeah.
Anyway.
God.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Let's Shoot Larry, the original porn game.
Well,
The
it
only
was. There
sex
was like
in it
no
was
porn.
Nothing
in it
censored.
changes.
whatsoever.
It was the Baldur's Gate 3 of its day. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I guess it probably was actually.
Yeah, you know
Nothing.
what? You know what? Yeah.
Nothing fucking changes.
There was a Leisure Suit Larry game that came out like not that long ago. Actually, I don't know what the hell happened to it, but they did a bunch of remakes of the originals. But man, there were so many Leisure Suit Larry games. That's back when Sierra had Leisure Suit Larry. It had King's Quest. It had Police Quest, and it had Space Quest. You remember those series of point-and-click adventure games?
Sierra was amazing.
They were really brutal, though. Like,
some great games.
You really had to save early, save often, as they often recommended you do, because you could really just die all the damn time and lose a lot of progress.
They made a game called Soft Porn Adventure in 1981. How about that?
That's one that I missed, sadly, but maybe it's never too late.
Apple Cider Spider.
Maybe you could recommend that to your 35-year-old friend who's never gamed before. It's an entry.
BC's Quest for Tires. Oh my god. I remember this game. BC's Quest for Tires. I had this. You were like, it was based on a comic called BC. Like a comic strip.
Yeah.
And he was just a caveman, and this was just a side scroller. I fucking haven't thought about that in 40 years.
You remember that
BC's Quest for Tires.
That old Amiga game called Arg? And you could play as like Godzilla or King Kong or someone else. And
wait, that's Rampage.
No, it was
Rampage.
The original one was called maybe Arg is different. It's called Arg, and the whole thing was you didn't have like a life total. It was a speech bubble that formed the word Arg, and if you completed it, you died because like if you took damage or whatever. But
Arg video game. There it is.
I seem to remember you smashing down buildings, Rampage style, and stuff as well.
You control a giant monster with the goal of obtaining eggs by destroying buildings.
Yeah.
It was ported to a range of platforms. There it is. Arg.
What
a funny game.
Fucking
I'd never heard of
game, yeah.
God, it came out on the Atari ST as well. Now the Amiga and Atari ST, those were the fucking bee's knees. The bee's knees.
Just the flipping.
Amiga was better, but my mate had an Atari ST, and when you had some specific games that were only on one or the other, felt real bad.
Just the flipping best ones.
Go and treat yourselves. Go play some games.
Yeah,
I bought an Amiga on eBay about 10 years ago, and it didn't fucking work.
God, I love gaming. I love it so much.
All right, I've got to go and have lunch with my lovely
have
parents.
Your lunch.
All right.
Have your lunch.
All right. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.